some tips for the Sister Missionaries. I guess I can start with the shoes, maybe because that was something that like I had a problem with until like my dad finally sent me the good shoes. But a lot of my companions, a lot of the sisters, they had really good shoes, and they were like the Chacos or like Tiva shoes. So those were helpful and will last you your entire mission, even after. So I brought mine home because I love them. They helped me so much. And they were just open toes. Yeah, I didn't really wear like cute flats other than wearing it during like a zone conference or church. So wearing closed-toe shoes during church, that would be good to set examples for the missionaries around and the members. So yeah, you can bring your sandals for around the house. Usually you would want to wear shoes in the house. Clothing, you want to get clothes that will last you your entire mission. There are secondhand stores over there just in case you need more clothing. But another thing is don't spend too much money on your clothes. I mean that you don't want to stand out too much. They'll respect you a lot if you kind of just fit in with them. So that's something that I loved, is I was able to go down their level through my appearance as well. I'm still looking, like a servant of our Heavenly Father, very presentable in a way that it was comfortable and, it helped them feel comfortable as well. I didn't really wear very much jewelry, but you can if that's, something you really love to do. I didn't wear makeup at all. You're just not very concerned about your looks out there because you feel, you become a part of them and you feel like as if you're them. And so a lot of those things I didn't really worry about. So it was, I enjoyed it a lot because of that, because of how simple my life became because of those things. So in Vanuatu, I've never felt unsafe. Everyone's so loving, and they'll look after you because you are a servant and they see you as that. And so, yeah, you'll feel pretty safe. There are some missionaries that will encounter something different than that, meaning that people are influenced, with alcohol and with kava as well. So that's very common to run into someone, I guess, drunk and walking around the road. And catcalling, there is catcalling, and you'll learn to, kind of ignore it and know, like, how dangerous he is, but you'll be okay. You'll learn to avoid those situations if possible. And so, to keep the missionary safe, the sisters specifically, we are to go home before dark. So that, because over there's not very much like light posts for the streets. And so you want to be sure that you're seen. And so what better way than just going home before it's too dark. So with traveling, with packing, I was okay with that. I wish I was a lot more smart as to like what I brought, like the shoes and all. But packing wasn't too much of a problem for me. You definitely want to have like a suitcase where you can take to the islands if you do like travel. Health-wise, I personally have never gotten sick while on my mission, besides like the whole water thing and the open sores, but that was taken care of immediately. The mission makes sure you get that medication you need to take care of that. The mosquitoes are probably like on steroids over there, so they carry like malaria, or you can even get like dengue, and so those are things to be aware of. I know missionaries that have gotten it, and it is very sad to see them get so sick like that. Some get the chicken pox. I know an elder who had the chicken pox twice, and so that wasn't fun for him. And so I think if you're sent out like further, for elders, if you're sent out further like to the bush, you have more chance of getting those things. But the mission provides a mosquito repellent, so you are expected to put that on so that you're protected from malaria and dengue and all those other things. Usually the mission will be informed on any other flu going on around the area so that you're aware of it and you wear the clothes that you need to.
I think number one is clothing. Like you see the Sister Missionaries on the Church LDS website, and they're in their pencil skirt and nice florally, like fluffy, lacy tops. Hawaii just do not dress like that at all. I had a bunch of dress clothes, like professional attire, and I sent it all home within the first month because the style there is very relaxed. Long flowy skirts are the best. Sisters in that mission were kind of treated like queens in the fact that they don't like us riding bikes. Hawaii can actually be kind of dangerous. It's a third world country, really, in some parts. It's very poor, and so they really didn't like sisters walking or biking after night, and so usually you have a car. As far as for shoes, don't go out and spend a lot of money on a nice pair of walking shoes because everyone seems to get the Hawaiian slippers. They're just like $5 slippers at Walmart. You can get there and they last you forever and they're super comfortable. So I would not spend any money. I think I spent like $200 on nice sandals that I never wore. And then again with the clothes, it's very humid there. But also in the winter, in my certain area, I was in Waimea, it snows on the mountain, so it can get really cold. But I wouldn't worry about bringing colder clothes because the members take care of you. They'll give you clothes. They'll show up on your doorstep with scarves and coats and anything that you need. But I would definitely pack long, flowy, and bright and colorful, clothes, and you can totally get away with it. You're either called to be a visitor center sister or a full proselyting sister, and both have equal and important roles in the mission field. Visitor center sisters have a very different schedule than proselyting sisters. They're able to go out full pros for a few transfers, but they definitely play a different role in the visitor center. That's where you have all the languages, and they get to take people on the tram tours and have amazing experiences with huge tour groups coming in from China and Japan, and they're able to teach the gospel to them in their native tongue. And we actually had a group of, I believe it was 20 to 30 Chinese people who came over to accept the gospel and were baptized and were taught within a few days. Some elders and sisters helped out with that. So that's definitely something very special, the visitor center sisters. I was a full proselyting sister. We are able to, we work just as the elders do. We don't have the visitor center schedule. It is a lot of walking, just as any mission, but we do have cars. Other tips? It's all natural. I don't think I wore makeup for much of my mission. It sweats all off by 11 a.m. anyway, and so I stopped wearing makeup probably a couple months into my mission, especially in the summertime. And people love you regardless. And then also, I don't know, I'm more of an athletic person, so it was really hard for me at the beginning to kind of let go of that because it's really easy to gain weight in that mission because you are fed so well. And so I would just suggest personally find out where your balance is. Don't be so gung-ho in the morning that you miss, studies or anything like that, because you will eat a lot more food than you ever have before in your life. Hands down, you're gonna have to stretch your stomach. But I found a good balance, and I did gain a little weight, but the people look at you and they say, "Oh, girl, you skinny." So they give you more food, and so it worked out, and I've been back for 4 months and I've lost most of that. And so I know some sisters are probably really self-conscious about the weight, but don't worry about it. Just enjoy your mission, and you look back on pictures and laugh because your little chipmunk cheeks, but it's all worth it in the end. Yeah, just be ready to explore the islands on P days. You're able to go out hiking and bring appropriate clothes for that. The people there love you. Sometimes I would feel bad for the elders. The people love the sisters, and you can touch so many people that the elders cannot. And not just saying because you're girls versus boys, but there's definitely people out there that I had a special connection with, that we were able to get through the doors because Sister Missionaries just carry a different, perspective and a different aura about them, and people can kind of tell the difference. Not that one is better than the other, but certain people respond to different things, and so don't feel like you have to be all gung-ho, and just be yourself, and the people will just love you for who you are.
So for sisters, clothing, the people in Hawaii are very casual. So the more expensive you dress, the less likely they'll talk to you, which is interesting. And so we dress a little more casual than most missions, and we also get to wear we call them Jesus slippers, and so they're just shoes that have two straps and on the top of them, and you can get them for like $5 there. And so if the mission president still lets you wear them, they've been letting the sisters wear them for a really long time. And so I know I bought some expensive sandals, which I never used on my mission, but I just bought like $5 slippers, and it's really convenient because you have to take off your shoes when you go into people's homes, and so having sandals was a little more inconvenient because you had to take out the strap and put it back in. And so the slippers, you just slip on and off, go into people's homes, and come on and slip them on again. And so also I would not recommend layers because it gets really hot and humid in Hawaii. Maybe in the winter months when it gets a little chillier, whatever that means. But when it gets a little colder, you can layer up a little bit. But usually during the spring and summer months, like, it gets really hot and humid in some places in the mission. And so, I wouldn't recommend something flowing, that can flow and just light and airy. And so that's what I would recommend. You're going to be walking around a lot and out in the hot sun, so just travel as light and as airy as possible so the air can come in. You'll be chill and cold, and you'll be fine.
Advice for Sister Missionaries. I probably spent $50 on clothes total getting ready for my mission. I talked with a sister who had just come back from Vanuatu about a month after I received my mission call, and she told me to not spend a lot of money on my clothes, and I said okay. So I went over to the DI and to Savers, and I would try on skirts, and the way I decided if I wanted to keep it or not was if I could sit crisscross applesauce on the ground without showing anything in the skirt. And so I got all my skirts from the DI. All my shirts were shirts like this, just kind of t-shirts, preferably not gray, because you will see the sweat marks, and you sweat a lot every single day. So just be mindful of that when you're thinking of clothes to wear. I never wore makeup on my mission because I just sweated it off. And to me, it almost felt like I constantly had a shower head over my head, and it was dripping water constantly. You just sweat all the time. By the end of the day, you're drenched. So don't spend too much money on your clothes. That would be some advice I would give to you. The number one thing that I would spend money on are shoes. I wore Teva flip-flops, and I had Keen sandals and some Chacos, but I didn't really wear those. Some sisters did. I chose not to because every single house you go into, you do have to remove your shoes. And so if you're wearing sandals like that, it's annoying to reach down and unstrap them and then strap them back up. And so having flip-flops is really nice. And Tevas were great because they molded to your feet, so they did provide some arch support, and they were easy to take on and off. And by the end of your mission, you will have a really nice flip-flop tan line. We are allowed to wear backpacks in that mission. I chose not to. I wore a shoulder bag, and that was great. I recommend just bringing a bag with a water bottle holder in it because you do want to carry water around with you throughout the day. I brought tampons for my whole entire mission. That was something that the sister that I taught to before my mission told me to do. She said to bring deodorant and tampons. And they had both things in Vanuatu. They did have deodorant. It is the watery kind though. It's like a ball on the top, and so I'm glad I brought my own deodorant. If you want the solid deodorant, bring your own for 18 months. Tampons, they are a little different, but they still work fine, and the mission will provide them for you. I am, however, glad that I brought my own because I do prefer the certain brand that I like, and so that was something that I'm glad I did. Like I said, I wouldn't bring a straightener, I wouldn't bring a curling iron, I wouldn't bring a hairdryer because you most likely will not be using them. I wore my hair up in a ponytail every single day. Like I said, no makeup, no jewelry, just very, very simple. If you do dress up, you feel out of place, and especially I think because I was white and everyone else was black, I already stood out so much and I already got so much attention for the color of my skin that I wanted to take the attention away from me in every way possible, and to dress as simply as you can, I think really makes a difference. It helps the people recognize that you aren't above them just because you're from America or another country, but that you are just like them. In the eyes of Heavenly Father, you are His children. And that was one way I felt like I could show that, is through the simpleness of my clothing and the way I presented myself. One thing that I think is very important as you prepare to serve in the Vanuatu Port Vila mission, especially in Vanuatu. I'm not sure about New Caledonia or the Solomon Islands because I did not serve there. I do know that a lot of the missionaries in New Caledonia have cars. In Vanuatu, the sister training leaders, the assistants to the presidents, and the zone leaders are the only ones with, and then the office elders and the travel elders have cars. Everyone else walks. So I only drove for about 4 weeks of my mission, and the rest of the time I walked. And so to get into good shape is extremely important. I had one sister that I trained after her just coming out into the mission field, and she was not in shape. And walking for 10, 15 miles a day killed her. She would come home, her feet were covered with blisters, she was completely exhausted, and it was very hard, especially with everything else that you have to deal with coming out on the mission, trying to learn the language, adjust to the culture, the time change, the food, the other missionaries, everything. You don't want to have to deal with the exhaustion that comes if you aren't in good shape already. I would recommend running maybe to get ready, or just walking so that you feel like you can do that every single day. And you do get used to it, but if you aren't doing that before your mission, it is extremely hard to adjust, along with everything else that comes with coming on a mission. Another thing that comes with preparing for sisters as you're getting ready to serve your mission, I would bring your garments for the whole entire 18 months. So probably maybe 20 pairs of garments, because you can't buy garments in Vanuatu. They have them for the members, but they are a discounted price, and because they're a discounted price, they don't want missionaries to buy them because they're such a limited supply. They want the members to be able to have access to them. So bring your garments with you, and they will wear out, so you do need to have new ones to bring as well. The mosquitoes in Vanuatu can give you malaria. Malaria is prevalent to the area. And even though I did put on mosquito spray for the first probably month I was there, I was getting bitten constantly. And so the mission office will give you medicine, or you will get it at the MTC, and you can take that. I would recommend taking it for the first month or so. However, it does make your skin extremely sensitive to the sun. So I was very, very red all the time. But after about a month, the mosquito stopped biting my legs. It was quite weird. And so I didn't have a problem with mosquito bites after that. When you do have to scratch your legs, I would take a brush and brush it. That way you're not getting them, you're not opening sores on your legs, because they will get infected with everything that is in the air and in the environment that you're in. As far as sunscreen goes, I brought tons and tons of sunscreen. I put on sunscreen probably 2 days, my whole entire mission. You put the sunscreen on, you let it soak in, and then you leave, and within about 10 minutes, all that sunscreen is running down your face with sweat, and it's getting in your eyes, and it's getting all over your clothes, and it's dripping off of you, and it just makes a mess. And so, I know there's the big scare with skin cancer and everything, and in my family, skin cancer is very common, and so that was something I was worried about, but I was checked for when I came back, and I don't have any problems with it, but it is hard because you want to protect yourself, but it's hard to keep it on your body. You are allowed to wear hats though, so that is one option if you like to wear hats. In Vanuatu, I always felt very safe. I never, ever, ever felt threatened. The people are very, very kind, very loving, very generous. They love you. They want you there. They want to help you in any way possible. And I never felt threatened. I never felt like there was any reason for me to be scared. Sisters are required to be in by dark, which is about, depending on the time of year, between 5 or 7. And so that definitely helps with preventing things from happening while it's dark outside. One of the challenges that you face as a missionary there when it comes to teaching people is the word of wisdom. There is a root called kava, and it kind of numbs your mouth and numbs your mind. And so when you do drink kava, you just want to sit there, almost like you're half asleep. I guess that's what how I would explain it. But it is against the word of wisdom, and so it is something you have to work with people and their addictions. Alcohol is another big one, and then marijuana is becoming big as well. And another big one is, of course, the law of chastity. That's something I think missionaries struggle with in any area of the world. But in Vanuatu, you don't really know who's family, because everybody just kind of lives together in a big yard. And they'll say, you'll ask one person, this is my mama, and then you ask them who they are, and they say, this is my sister's nephew. Like, everybody's just kind of family. They all consider everybody family. And so with everybody living together, things do happen, and the law of chastity does become a problem. So that is a big one to talk about.
So the weather in Hawaii, it usually stays between like 75 degrees and 85 degrees. There's not much shift. And so it's pretty warm most of the time. But it is good to bring like sweaters and stuff, because you get used to it. And then all of a sudden, like when you're in the 70s, you're like, man, it's kind of chilly outside, and you'll like want a jacket. So that's good. One big thing for me, I never, ever, ever wanted to wear layers. And so if you have like that really cute shirt that you really want to bring, and you're like, I can just wear a shirt under it, like, just like keep this in mind. My favorite outfits were the ones where I could just like put on one shirt, one skirt, and I didn't have to like layer anything, because I didn't like layering, because it's very humid, and so you're just kind of like, you're sticky, and it gets pretty hot. And as part of your visitor center assignment, you do have a muumuu that you wear, but you also need to bring normal clothes. So sometimes people would say like, so you don't have to worry about clothes at all. And it's like, well, we do, because we can't wear this everywhere. So you have to bring like just as many clothes as like a normal missionary. But the muumuu's nice, because you can just kind of like throw it on if you have to go to shift. So that was good. And with your shoes, kind of different for everybody, and depending on when you're going, like it might change with the mission president, but all of the sisters, like we always wore, like, they're more common now, like people wear them in Utah, I see them all the time. They're like these $5 rubber sandals with like the 2 straps going across, and we wore those like every day if we wanted to. But if you have feet problems, then that's like not enough support if you're like walking around a lot. So like in the visitor center and outside of the visitor center, people will just wear those all the time. So for me, like I had like I had like my ankles like kind of struggle sometimes, and so I had to wear like normal person shoes. So that's something to keep in mind, just like good comfy shoes. But we are allowed to wear the sandals. And then in terms of staying safe, Laie is pretty safe. Yeah, people are pretty secure. Like, I didn't really have run-ins with too many iffy people. I know there is like a little bit of drug stuff that happens, especially like in the outlying town. But I didn't have too many times when I felt like super unsafe. We did have like a couple instances where we would do chats online and then also take phone calls. And so every once in a while you get kind of an unruly or like creepy or perverted person calling. But for the most part, like you just hang up on them or like end the chat, and you can like report it. So the church has like kind of a system set in like so that you aren't getting the same like weird people calling. And then when I was in, I think when I was in Honolulu, we had a car. And so that was pretty good. And the neighborhoods that I served in were pretty safe. And so I think just like being aware of your surroundings is good. Just like keeping an eye out for people. But for the most part, it was pretty, I think it's a pretty safe mission. Like we don't really have too many incidents of like missionaries being bothered. So it's good.